definitely believe. And then you also had $26 million funneling to the Swedish branch of the Clinton Foundation between 2010 and 2013, which is insane.
So,
Truth Seekers, I just want to bring your attention to this YouTube channel called Plus Ultra, and specifically the owner of the channel, Michael Corey's recent interview with Ann Vandersteel. I think this is a significant moment in Michael's advocacy for attention upon a possible criminal racket taking place with the Swedish telecom giant Ericcson. I'll drop a link to this interview in full in the comments. Might be worth checking out. I'm going to play a few clips of key points made by Ann Vandersteel in this interview that helps us conceptualize what this issue is.
So I know one of the things that came out of this was that in Hillary Clinton's tenure as Secretary of State, again, this company Ericcson was doing business with Iran, a clear enemy of the United States. Yet they were doing a lot of business here in the United States as well. But her State Department put out the following statement, and you put this right in your report: we're not going to broaden sanctions on Iran to include technologies like telecom. We're going to rely and expect companies like Ericcson to police themselves. What is that?
Yeah, I know, right?
What is that?
Something out of a movie, because some policing they've done.
You can't make this up. I mean, they're so blatant. They have to tell you the fraud, the crime they're going to commit. So essentially what she's saying is, yep, we're going to continue to do business with a company that's in bed with Iran, our arch enemy. We're going to not police them at all. And we're going to look the other way. We're going to say, you know what, we trust them to do the right thing. Tell me why the fact that they have a contract with our 911 dispatch is of concern at this point, knowing that we know they do business with Iran, other countries that sponsor terrorism. They have connections, obviously. We're going to talk about the same families that were behind the Federal Reserve. Tim Geithner, who we know to be another criminal from the Clinton Foundation, the Obama era, I should say, excuse me. Tell me why the 911 portability, the fact that when I call 911 from my cell phone, I am dependent on the network to let the emergency crew know where I am, and it's based on GPS and all this. Why is Ericcson having some part of that of concern at this point? And
yeah, so then an example is given with some of our recent bang bang tragedies. Just think about that. During those emergencies, it's very important to know the precise intervals of time that it took for specific actions to be taken, so that way errors could be identified in a debriefing session. Do you really want a foreign power to have such authority and control over such critical infrastructure?
So essentially what you're saying, Michael, is if we have a national emergency and Ericcson decides to play hardball, they can limit the access to that information and basically put people in the dark. We might not know what's happening in the state next door or in the town next door for that matter, because they control the network. They can bosh down.
Absolutely. And think about it from the perspective of like WID and the CDC.
Michael had shared me some of his coverage of this particular topic a few months ago. I decided to put up a video based on a Twitter thread that he produced a little bit later on. He has a well-named website that he defines as a public intelligence entity and watchdog called Plus Ultra. Now on his website, under the investigation tab, he has some pretty interesting subjects covered: Spygate, money, medical industrial complex, hidden hand, corporations, artificial intelligence. If you go down to reports, you'll have access to the Ericcson report. So here's this report. It's a PDF document about 27 pages long, pretty professionally laid out. I'll go ahead and pin this report to the Telegram chat, a link to which will be in the pinned comments below. I will also tiny URL this report linked in the description. And it was brought up in this interview that Ericcson may face a new investigation by DOJ. Just searching the term SEC Ericcson under news, I find this article: Ericcson shares fall on worries of bigger fines as US SEC starts probe. This is dated June 10th of this year. The SEC is starting a separate investigation into the company's handling of misconduct in Iraq. The controversy, which broke in February, relates to Ericsson's own investigation in 2019. This found payments that have been made to the Islamic State militant group in Iraq. They estimate that any settlement is unlikely to come this year and could even derail Ericsson's $6.2 billion deal to buy U.S. cloud communications firm Vonage. As far as further investigation into networks of compromise is concerned, here are some of the acquisitions of Vonage over the years. So it acquired Vocalocity, which is a software as service provider of cloud communication services, Telesphere, iCore Networks, Simple Signal, these are both UCSAAS providers to large companies, G-Unify, a cloud-based communication service provider to businesses, Nexmo, the second largest CPaaS company, Tailbox, WebRTC, programmable video provider, New Voice Media, contact center as service provider, and Over AI, a voice and conversational AI provider. Interesting. And so this announcement for Vonage to be acquired by Ericcson was November of this past year, and it was to be a $6.2 billion deal. And so I suppose Ericcson is pursuing a strategy of horizontal integration of related cloud communication services, perhaps in a bid to begin to corner the market. I don't know. So I just wanted to bring this to you guys' attention. And Vandersteel has quite a bit of public reach in the Patriot community. So I look at this as quite an accomplishment for Michael, as well as his new organization, Plus Ultra. Okay. All right, see you next time.